I leave knowing that I'm not alone, that I have support from other people that are going through the same thing in business or in life, and I feel a sense of belonging.
They make me cry.
I cry a lot, by the way, like all the time. But
well, you know what we need? We need, instead of a laugh track, like a note that we can tell people that are listening when you're actually crying, because you do it quietly.
I do.
So in person, we all know that you're crying, but on a podcast, we need to come up with like a Kelly's crying like background noise.
Right.
It'll be like a secret code that only people who have listened to this episode will know that this is the Kelly's crying.
Yeah.
The Kelly B is crying.
Well,
Kelly M holds it all in until I'm in the shower.
Yeah. Or eating ice cream on
my
floor of your kitchen at 10:30 at night.
My favorite place.
Uh-huh. But you know, it's funny and we laugh about my crying, but that was one of the main reasons I was inspired to work with you and make Bossy a reality, because I did have a little bit more free time on my hands and I did go out and try to find groups that I could connect with. I'm sure there are plenty here in this area. If you're listening from somewhere else, I'm sure you have them there. Maybe they work for you, maybe they don't. The schedules never quite worked for me, and a lot of the times they were filled with women who owned businesses, women who were decision makers, and those things are great, but I needed a place where I felt surrounded by people just like me. And I'd go to these meetings and they would kind of tell me how I'm supposed to speak, how I'm supposed to introduce myself, how I'm supposed to support other people, and everybody was so happy. And they just smiled, and this is amazing, and I run a business, and I'm doing this, and it's so great. And I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing wrong? Because I cry a lot, and running a business is the worst job in the world that I'll never want another one, but like it's so hard.
The best and the worst.
It's the best and the worst, but nobody talks about it. At these meetings, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Now, like I already felt like I had nowhere to go, and now I feel even worse. And with Bossy, probably because I cry a lot. Like it makes people feel comfortable being honest.
Yeah. So I don't have a filter and you cry a lot.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, how can you not feel comfortable with that?
We are the perfect team. All right. Okay. Kelly, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What was the first thing you learned about owning a business?
Well, I purchased an existing business that I had been working at for 12 years. So I walked into a business that employed my friends and family members, and I was now the boss. As somebody who was already seen as being bossy, you'd think the transition would have been easier, but it was actually quite hard. So I would say the first thing I learned about owning a business was who were my true friends and who were going to end up on the sidelines. And we can talk about that for an entire podcast episode.
Probably 3 or 4, I would say. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
What was the first thing you learned?
Well, I went into business with my husband into an industry I knew nothing about, but I've been told that I'm an intelligent person, so I really thought, how hard can this be? So being that it was a bar, I was familiar with drinking and eating bar food, but the books and everything else, the running of a business, and I think that's what people don't understand, is you can go into business and do your passion, but that's only one side of it. So learning how to do the books and QuickBooks and HR manuals and all that other crap, I had no idea about. So I think the first thing I learned was I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my God, the legal stuff.
Oh my God.
You can't Google.
No.
The New York State website is awful. I mean, it's gotten better with COVID, but prior to COVID, you couldn't find anything.
And there's no way to just like sign up for updates. Like, hello, Department of Labor, can you let me know every time you change one of these laws? Because they change all the time.
I didn't realize that during COVID they changed the under 18 working laws.
I think they had to because we couldn't find staff.
Yeah?
I don't know. It's my guess.
I had a staff member come in that was under 18 and I had to look it up, and it was so different than the last time I had hired somebody at 17.
Right.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What is the thing you are the most proud of at work.
Okay. I think that my staff can come to me with anything. Now, sometimes it's a little too much, but I think the fact that they can come to me with problems about work, problems with each other, problems with me, and problems with home, I think that's something I'm really proud of, that we've created a space where they feel safe and comfortable talking to us. I think that's probably what I'm most proud of. What about you?
The thing I'm most proud of? Survival. I'm proud. We have a lot in common in how we run our businesses, so I share a lot of pride in the open door model that we run. But through it all, and through all the changes, and through all the different economic statuses and societal and political and the shifts, I am ridiculously proud that 2 out of 3 of my businesses stayed open all of this time. And to preface that for anyone listening, the business that closed was not during COVID. And it's not just COVID that we survived, right? It's the unrest in the economy and socially, and having a place where people continue to want to go to, whether that's people that work there or people that are going there as guests.
Yeah, I think anybody that's kept their business open in the last 2 years should be proud that they have a place where people want to be. Because I think we learned a lot about places that we didn't want to be at anymore. And there is a list, and it grows, of places I won't go to, whether it's how they handled COVID, how they handle just general illness with their staff, how they handle political issues. People are really are showing their true colors, and my list gets longer every day.
I kind of chuckled when you said that, because I also thought about all the businesses that opened during COVID and how it's still not over. And I can't wait to see what life is like for all of them when they operate in normalized, equalized times.
Right.
They're going to be so strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I already know the answer, but what was the most expensive thing you've learned?
Insurance! I was not worried about getting through the pandemic of 2020 because of the flood of 14. We were 2 years into owning the business and found out that there were not only plumbing issues that we had to deal with for the first 2 years, but then there was a massive fire, not anywhere near my business, but the water for the building was right over my business. So I learned all about what is covered on insurance, whether it's the landlord's or mine, and what the landlord gets paid for and what I get paid for, and how nobody really cares about how your employees are going to get paid the whole time you're shut down, and how to work around the systems that are in place to make sure you don't reopen, apparently. Insurance.
Ugh.
Everyone's like, oh, insurance covered it. No.
Doesn't cover anything.
What about you?
Well, I mean, other than don't open a business 7 months before a pandemic, that was a pretty expensive thing. But I would say, when you are looking at a building, if it's older, don't just get one inspection. The inspection that we got for the Union Tavern made it seem like everything beneath the floors and behind the walls was in a good sound place, and it certainly was not. So we really put a lot of faith in that inspection, and then when we got in there, it was a disaster.
A very expensive disaster?
A very expensive disaster, probably about 4 times beyond what we anticipated. And being that we have been business owners for 10 years when we opened, we really thought we knew that we were being pretty realistic with our budget. And we were not, because we went so over budget and then didn't have any money really to open, but had to open. And then things were starting to look good in February of 2020. And that's, again.
Oh my God, we were so busy in February of 2020. February.
Good times.
What do they say? It's add 20% to whatever your budget is, and at least 3 months.
Yep.
If not longer. And now, I mean, we're looking at things that should only take a month, taking a year.
Yep.
I want to add expensive. I learned very quickly that loans count as income. So at the end of our first year of business, we had a very massive tax bill.
Yeah.
Because of all the loans we were paying out, but because we were paying out so much in loans, we didn't have any money in the bank. And I remember getting that tax bill and being like, you want how much money? But I literally have like a couple $1,000s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our first 2 years were pretty good, and then year 3 at Marshall Street was when our sales just doubled, if not even tripled, and our tax bill was absurd. It's like, I didn't factor this in. And again, another thing that you don't know when you go into business, you really need to know accounting and get up to speed. You can have the best accountant, but if you really don't know what you're doing and what you're looking at, you can get surprised with $37,000 tax bills when you don't have it. And it's in your slow time.
Yes, it's always in the slow time.
Always.
They should move the tax date for upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being year end, it should be like, March.
Yeah, it should be like
Going
right
into
after
summer.
St. Patrick's Day, right after Cinco de Mayo. And
Going into summer.
Exactly.
I can pay those bills in the summer.
Right.
All right, so we've put in almost 8 years of 100% volunteer work while running our own businesses and running our own lives and marriages and families and parents and blah, blah, blah. Why continue? Why move forward with something new like a podcast and growth?
I think as much as it's a lot of work sometimes, and I look at it, my calendar, and go, where am I going to fit in more time to do this work and volunteer work when I've got businesses? I have 3 that need attention. Because Bossy brings me joy. It fills a need that those other businesses can't. I would love to be a professional helper if it actually made me money. I would be fine for that to be my job for the rest of my life. But working with other women and hearing their stories and the energy I get from just listening to their stories and conversations, it grounds me and it gives me purpose. I love my jobs, I love my businesses, but Bossy really shows me what I'm capable of, and I love working with other women.
I always tell people that we're so busy, and with me, I have kids, so like they're in stuff every night. So like trying to find a night where I'm not needed at work, which happens way more often nowadays, but now I have less free time because the kids are doing 87,000 things. No comment from my husband, please. And I would drag myself to Bossy meetings and be like, I don't have time for this. I can't, blah, blah, blah. I could be doing something else. I have to get my books in order. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then once I'm inside, I leave feeling so centered and just being in that space where everyone in the room just gets it, whether they're making jewelry in their basement or they have 50 employees. We're all selling something and we're all dealing with all the crap. We all have the same crap to deal with, just on different levels. And just leaving that room makes me feel centered, and it makes all the volunteer work be worth it. On that note, it's about to get real loud.
Yeah, so we're going to pause. This episode has been brought to you by Knox, a secret library of cocktails and comfort food hidden inside the village gate. Find out more at knoxcocktail.com. So we tasked our Bossy group to send us some questions because we want to hear what they want to know. We want to hear questions from them. So Kelly, this one comes in from Erica Sorbello. How do you balance it all? Multiple businesses, husbands, Bossy, kids, friends, special needs dogs, because we both have very special needs dogs.
Yours is way more. I'm
So
sorry. I don't want to call your dog out. My dog just
horrible.
pees on my side of the bed.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So how do you balance it all?
I use technology like ridiculously to keep myself organized. My husband refuses to even look at my calendar, much less sync calendars, because that's how I know what I have to do every day and what my plans are. So whether it's the volunteer work that I do or it has to do with picking up the kids and getting them to the appropriate spot, which one of them is making so much noise in the background right now. And even dates with friends. Like if I reach out to you and I'm like, hey, do you want to get together? I don't mean next week. I mean like in the next month. So there are some people that get back to me and they're like, oh, I have Tuesday free. I'm like, no. I do not have Tuesday free. I'm looking like a month out. I want to put you on my calendar and then I can schedule around it.
Right.
So that I can make sure the people that I love and I want to see I can still